Welcome to Here to Shake the Table, the podcast where we bring women together from all walks of life to have raw conversations about topics and issues that matter most. I'm your host, Amby Stevens with Empowerment, an all-inclusive women's center that supports women professionally, personally, and all things in between. And in typical empowerment form, we are here to shake some tables. So pull up a chair, buckle up, and enjoy the ride. Hello. Welcome to Hear the Shake the Table, the podcast where we bring women from all walks of life to have raw conversations about the issues that matter most. I'm your host, Amby Stevens, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. We have an incredible guest, my friend, Tamara Gylnn, joining us on the show today, who is here to share her insight and experience on a topic that to most people may seem taboo, but it's important for us to talk about. She has shattered stereotypes, has broken through barriers, and is someone that I absolutely look up to. She is a friend, a business owner, a philanthropist, and many more things. She also is a mom and a wife, but I'll let her tell you more about that. Tamara, what do you have for the listeners?
Hello, everybody. This is Tamara Gylnn. I am the CEO of Clearpath Health. It's a mental health agency here in Clearwater, but we're also expanding to other locations. Actually, I just got approval for an office in Ocala, so I'm super excited about that. Like Amby says, I am a mom. I am a grandmother, too, brand new baby of 2 weeks. So I'm very busy. I do own my own business, and it's been a trip. I'm a social worker by nature, and I've been a social worker for almost 30 years, but I've always worked for other companies. And during COVID, I was working at an agency that wasn't really treating the employees or even the clients the way that I would have treated the employees and the clients. So I decided to open my own place. And, you know, like Amby says, being a minority business owner has lots of challenges to it. But we successfully opened, and we've had struggles that I will tell you about. But one of my biggest thing is it is philanthropy. And so we definitely love the partnership with Amby and Empowerment and helping the women get some therapy and helping the community. So we do a lot of community events and participate as much as possible. And I try to ingrain that in all the locations that we have. So that is my...
Yeah. It's been super helpful, too, just having you. You and I became super close through that, and it's been great to get to know you. And I think one of the things that you and I have in common is trying to make waves in this area and change and make a difference while also not being problematic, right? Like we're both Black and brown business owners in a minority group. And so how do we make a difference, you know, have the same potential and the same right as other people who may not qualify as being a minority group.
Right.
So we've talked about that before.
And
how to
and it's been a struggle. I think, I do think Amplify Clearwater, which we're both are members of, was very helpful in the beginning to me because I didn't see, they were the ones that didn't see the color. Like they were able to help me without the color being a thing. But, and remember in the very beginning when I started looking for space, like my first couple of experiences were people who said, no, I don't want to rent to you. And I thought like, what do you mean? And they use the mental health piece, like they use the I don't want to rent to crazy people. And, like I remember because I'm loud spoken, as Amby knows.
I'm here for it.
I said, wait a minute, that's illegal. You can't do that. But I really felt really under it all. It was because I was a minority and they didn't want me in their building. So that happened twice. So now, I've learned my husband calls now for space. And I don't call for space.
Is he your husband?
He's white.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
He's a very white Irish man. So we've made an agreement that he's the one that is going to call for leases and negotiate that. I mean, I get involved in the process so they know who is moving in the building. But I really felt the first couple of times that I heard that, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm a minority? Or is it really because I'm in mental health? I mean, the three are kind of taboo.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the vibe. But, even in the beginning, funding, like I was, I opened during COVID, which probably was a mistake, but
it got you here. So.
Yeah, we got here and we're growing, but even funding, like everybody would tell me no. And I remember having a conversation like, I wonder if it's because I'm a minority. Like it really is. Like, what is this about?
Yeah.
I'm a minority woman-owned business. Like usually the federal government wants to throw you money, the state wants to throw you money, and I was not having any luck, even with the, the Hispanic local funders. Like even with them, I wasn't having any success.
Do you find that, okay, so for me, when this happened, I immediately go to, it's because I'm minority. And it makes me upset because I'm like, okay, and be like, check yourself. Like, is it because you're a minority? Is it because you did something wrong? Like, what is it deeply? Do you feel like you find yourself doing that?
Sometimes, not all the time. I mean, I think, I have a good ego, so I'm pretty good about self-love and not taking things personally. But sometimes, I mean, especially when they told me no because of the building, like that will always concern me, and I would check myself, like, that's interesting. And with the funding, nobody ever said it's because you're Hispanic or you're a minority or you're in the wrong business, but it was very interesting that nobody wanted to touch me, and I did question myself, and I would go back to my husband and I'm like, I wonder if it was in your name, if we would have a different
Was there a different outcome?
Well, it wasn't, because I wanted to be 100% minority-owned women business. So he helps, but he's not in any shape, way, or form sort of connected to the business, because I really want, that's one of the things I'm proud of, is being a minority-owned woman. And, like I talk about teaching girls, like you have this opportunity. It doesn't matter that you're a minority little girl that came, undocumented, crossed the border, all of that. You're in America. There's great opportunities. So I felt very committed to that, and I didn't want to be a traitor to that. So I don't, like that was some of the funding. Initially, people would offer me a funding if they took a stake in the company. I'm like, nope, you're a male, you're a white, nope, none of that.
Not doing that.
Not having it. So I'm proud. I mean, we came through it, and we're on the other side, and it's great. But it has been an interesting learning lesson. And then, on the other side, then there's the side that takes advantage of the fact that you're a minority. So you might be asked to join the committee, or you might be asked to join this or that, and that it's only because you're a minority.
Especially when it's like a check off the list, right? When it's like if you look at a table and you're the only one there, you're like, oh, I am just a piece of income, really. Now you can check out the list that you're diverse. Yeah,
so that one bothers me bothers me more than if you tell me straight no.
Absolutely.
That one is like, I'm here not for the right reasons. Yeah. And that's a little frustrating.
It is. It's hard, too, because at least I'll say, like, and this, we both are very, like, we want to shake tables. We want to make a difference. We don't want to just, like, tiptoe around. And so sometimes I find that, like, if I say certain things, I'm so afraid that I'll get canceled, right? I'm like, oh, my gosh, like, if so-and-so did this because they look differently from me, they may get a second chance. But if I say it, I'm going to be done.
Yep.
And it's hard because you really want, especially for what I do is like women's empowerment. We want to make a difference, a true difference. And it's just like, I don't want to be quiet, but I also don't want to say something so loudly or so inappropriate, quote unquote, that people then I get canceled or whatever, which is so stupid. But it's really insecure. It's one of my biggest insecurities.
Yeah,
actually.
No, mine too, because I've been called loud. You're too loud. You're like, I'm not politically correct.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. You don't want to be.
I don't want
the what do they call it? Like mad black woman, or probably the loud Hispanic. Like, I just want to be a woman that can talk what the hell she wants to talk about, and make a difference.
Yeah.
So with that said, like, what are some ways that you use your platform as a leader to promote like diversity, equity, and inclusion in your field?
So, the first one is how I hire people. I make sure that every single one of my offices has a diverse staff. Social work is dominated by white women, of course, because that's the way it is. But all of my offices have a diverse staff. And I think it's important for my clients to see themselves represented. And if you're Hispanic and you want a Hispanic person to see you, then that's what you get. And if you're an African American, and that's who would you feel comfortable with, that we can offer that. So that's the first thing I do that is very important to me, that we have a diverse staff. We have different languages, we have different ethnicities, so that we can have the clients really seeing themselves represented in our agency. So that's the first one, I think, a big one for me.
Yeah, and I can agree with that too. Like, from someone who works with you guys do have such a great diverse staff, which makes the partnership so aligned, because empowerment, I'm so thankful for our diverse team, the board, the advisory committee, because it's so diverse. And one of the things that I wanted to do was sit at a table and for women to be like, this is great, but I don't have someone who looks like me, and me to be like, yes, you do. Here's who we have. And it doesn't have to even be race. It can be age. Right. Maybe your like background, your work life, but just someone you can relate to if you need that, right? I think that's really important for women. Otherwise, what if you sit next to a whole bunch of people who look the exact same and you're just like uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Been there, done that, not going back. So speaking of that, how do you stay motivated and focus on your goals in the face of obstacles or adversity?
I think I don't give myself the choice. I'm not one that wallows on pity or the victim thing. I am like, I'm gonna be successful. Nothing stopping me, and I position myself in situations or partnerships that is the way that I want to do, and like that's why I picked you, because I'm like, oh my God, I love what you're doing. But I'm part of the Hispanic Council because that's a passion. I want to be involved with the Hispanic community. So we've done a couple of community events for Hispanics that I've been a panel or a member participating. So I think what I try to do is always intertwine myself in places that I think are going to be where my voice can be heard and nobody's going to tell me no. A perfect example is I had such a good experience with Amplify Clearwater that when I opened in Port St. Lucie, I went to the chamber and I applied for the chamber and I got the chamber and they did my ribbon cutting, but it wasn't really... It was interesting because everybody that showed up was white. And Port St. Lucie has a big Haitian and African-American population. Yeah. And all of the representatives that came to the ribbon cutting were all white. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, this is not what I was expecting.
That was not at all what I expected. And then, the chamber hasn't been really helpful. They don't really offer a lot of support to the minority community. And or even, Amplify has reached out to do a video and do marketing. And that doesn't happen there. So it was funny. I was talking. I'm not even going to renew that membership because I don't feel there's a value to it. Absolutely. And if you're not providing services to the community that you serve and not really even represent, I was totally shocked that everybody that showed up to the open house was white, except for my staff. My staff were diverse.
That's interesting. You wonder what that was about.
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to probably the leadership too. Yeah. I don't know them, but I'm sure their leadership.
But even the government, a lot of government employees showed up because I actually had to send the invite, which also annoyed me. I did all the work for the open house. Wow. So I invited everybody that they told me that I needed to invite to the open house, and literally commissioners, police officers, everybody was white. I was like, this community's probably 90% African American.
That is so interesting.
So I was like, minority people, you need to step up and run for something.
Absolutely. But then also had to have the support.
Yes.
Right? Did I ever tell you? So I ran for, this, Palm Harbor. It was a mayor thing, and it was just a fun thing, and it was awesome. But I remember someone being like, you're never going to get that. And me being like, well, why? And they're like, Palm Harbor is and I love Palm Harbor, but I grew up there. It's primarily white. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
And just hearing that, it was really okay, for me, it was no matter how successful I get, no matter how many degrees,
right,
no matter, my husband's biracial, no matter how many diverse friends I have,
right,
I still had to struggle with being racist. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That I think was really a mind F.
Yeah, and especially, in this day and age, come on, really? That should not be happening.
No, it shouldn't. And it's just scary because it's I think about my children and I'm just are they going to experience this? One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, recently this happened to me. I was at the Empowerment Center, and I'm walking around and I'm just doing my thing. And someone said to me, this woman that came in, and she said, and I think we were closing down, and she goes, oh, can I talk to the boss here or whatever, the owner? I'm like, oh, I'm the founder and CEO. How can I help you? She's like, you are? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And she's like, no, seriously. And I was like, no, it's me. And I think my mom was there first. I forget what we were doing. And she said to my mom, did you help her with this? And my mom said, no. I support her, but no, I didn't. And then later on, she's a lady, so she goes, your husband must be, she kept trying to find an excuse. And I finally said to her, this is a women's empowerment center.
Right, no kidding.
I have a master's degree in nonprofit management. I worked hard.
Right.
And we have a great support system. It doesn't have to be my mom or my husband or anyone else. And if it was, does that make me any less than anyone else that would have had the same? But it hurt so badly.
Right.
And I, of course, thought about my race and age. Oh my gosh, 2 minority things that affected me. So I'm just curious if you had that same experience.
I've had in the past, definitely. I mean, and I think this. I was fired from my last job, and I knew they were firing me, but it was just, they were always questioning me because, I I didn't know the business, and I knew the business better than my bosses, and I could run circles around them. So that when they tried to sort of show that I didn't know my stuff, I'm like, I know my stuff, and here's why. Here are my numbers, and I'm doing this. So they ended up firing me, and I really think it was because I was too loud and obnoxious and not conforming. Like they would ask for more money, and I was supposed to give them more money. I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You're not supporting our clients. You're not giving me the stuff I need. But it was like totally questioning whether I knew the business, and I know this business. I've been a social worker for 30 years. I've done it all. So don't question, like, you have a little degree over there that might be different, but you're a guy and you think you know it all just because you know. I have more education than you. I have 2 master's degrees. Thank you very much.
Experience.
And the experience. So don't tell me how to run the business, because I know how to run the business. So I think that catapulted me into creating this, because that's part of what I didn't want. I don't want a white man telling me what to do or not to do.
I totally get that.
Like that's
done
not.
with it.
I'm totally. And I've been blessed. I do have to say my career has been blessed. I've been. Most of my career, my bosses were all powerful women that taught me a lot, that always supported me. Like, I mean, even when I make this decision to go to the business, I did it over the weekend, and then on Monday I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? I reach out to 2 of my biggest mentors, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm crazy, but this is what I'm thinking. What do you
Usually
think?
Entrepreneurs are crazy.
Yeah.
We are crazy. That's all we're doing.
And both of them said, Tamara, you should have done that 20 years ago. Like, you would have made such an impact in the world, and you were playing small, and you know your stuff, and you totally could have been an awesome businesswoman for 20 years. So that validated me, because I trust them. I mean, they taught me everything I know in terms of how to run a business, or how to, write a proposal, or whatever. Like, whatever they taught me that was helpful was validating to say, go do it. You know how to do it.
And see, like, that, like, little, not little support, because it's a lot, but, like, that sense of support is so important, especially as a minority-owned business. You need that hype. You need it because you want to be able to be like, if I fail, God forbid I fail, you got me, and you're going to stand behind me and help me get through it.
Yeah, and that's the piece that I'm missing. I moved to Clearwater 2.5 years ago. So, like, I don't, my group of friends is not here. I don't have, like, the support. So, again, I'm thankful for Amplified and the Achievers group, because you guys have become my support system. And I can't call you and say, I'm having this. So that's been awesome to have a support group of awesome women around you. But that's been part of the struggle, is not having that. When I first started, I'm like, I don't know anybody in Clearwater. Who am I going to reach out? Like, how do I get connected? And it's funny, like you said that, and I walk in places with my husband as the business owners, and they automatically assume that he's the business owner. And that really pisses me off sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute.
It should.
It's my business.
Yes, it should. Because he'll never walk into the business and they'll be like, oh, is your wife?
Right.
Like, no.
And he's good about saying, nope, talk to the boss. Nope, go talk to the boss. I'm not the boss. He's really good about that and very supportive. But people automatically assume, like, even, the example I was giving you about the Port St. Lucie office, when they sent the photographer, we hadn't met anybody. So the photographer came early. And we were all the women that, my team is all women. Like, we're all women in my leadership team. And we were sitting in a room deciding when we were going to get dressed to be ready for the pictures. And the photographer came in and bypassed all of us and went to my husband.
Oh, my gosh. That would make me shake some tables.
I totally shook that table, let me tell you. And totally assumed that he was the boss. And I'm here for the pictures. And he's like, well, go talk to the boss. And I said, well, we're not ready. Because you're not supposed to be here. So... No, but it was really funny to see how literally she walked past all of us and went to him.
Oh my gosh. And it was a woman too.
And it was a woman. Yeah.
Why do we do that?
Yeah.
I find myself, though, I will subconsciously, if I ever do that, check myself, right? Like, this is an insecurity that you have. It's not about the person. It's something that it was set into you when you were a child. You need to check yourself. So I think it's also being not lazy enough to, like, be self-aware and like fix it immediately. Because I think real change happens when you're able to be like, this was taught to me. I can unteach myself and fix it, and then make a better decision next time, as opposed to just be like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna do it again.
No, and like I said, I'm blessed. I mean, my parents were totally always super supportive and encouraged me to be the person that I was, and encouraged me to do all the things that I wanted to do. And but here's another example. When I was in high school, I had come from Cuba. I barely know any English, so I wanted to take extra English classes because my goal was, I'm going to college. And there was Boston University had a scholarship program for minority not minority, it was technically, it was in a city, so we ended up all being kind of minorities, but it wasn't designed for minority. It was designed for the 5 top people in each high school that met all the requirements of the scholarship.
Wow.
So me and my friend both applied, both Hispanics, and the guidance counselor literally came to us and said, don't bother applying because you're not going to get in there. You don't have the English or the grades or your SAT scores are not going to be enough to make it to the scholarship.
Wow.
And it was interesting. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to apply because that's the only way I'm going to get to college because my mom doesn't have any money.
Absolutely.
And my friend listened to her and didn't apply. No. So I got in.
You got in? Oh,
I got in. And I literally went to the principal and I said, here's a perfect example of what's not acceptable.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't have somebody in a position of power. And I've always been a loudmouth, so even then.
We respect it, though.
Yeah, it's like, why would you have little girls, 14, 15 years old, you tell them not to go for their dreams when they, and you know, and my friend I was the valedictorian, but she was the salutatorian, so her grades were the second best in the school, and she totally could have gotten in.
Absolutely.
I didn't have anything over her that she couldn't have gotten in, but she listened to that guidance counselor. And, you know, I met her a few years back. She didn't go to college because her parents couldn't afford college. She, you know, got pregnant early. Like, her life was completely different than mine just because of one person's influence.
See how that, like, so then I feel like the emotional toll that has on people, right? Like, how do we as adults, as women, as minority-owned women, how do we get through that? Because, you know, you and I have talks about, I'm like, I'm struggling. Like, I struggle.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of it is that, right? The pressure, the wanting to make moves and scared. Like, what advice do we give people then who are going through this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to get to the younger generations. And I always say that, I mean, I'm part of the Hispanic Chamber and they have a big education program. And I said, you need to get us in front of the schools. Like, you need to be getting us to those high school students or even middle schoolers and show them what's possible. Because a lot of those girls and boys too, I mean, the minorities, they're illegals, their parents don't have the opportunities to afford to go to college or whatever. And because they don't know any better, they might not even reach for those opportunities that are out there. There are opportunities out there. So that's one of my passions that I really feel like I want to create a some sort of, I don't know, foundation or an arm to my an educational arm to my career and really getting to the mindset of helping those kids that were where I was when I came here and teach them that there is an American dream. You can be successful, not necessarily even go to college. I mean, I have plenty of friends that have never went to college and are successful. But giving them those being able to listen and hear that there are opportunities. You know, the Hispanic Chamber did a conference, and it was all these powerful speakers, and they actually got countryside high school.
I went there.
Yeah,
Go Cougars!
They took a Hispanic group of kids, like 30 kids, went to the conference, and you should see their faces. Like, they were like, "Oh my God, I could be." Like, they had a neuroscience and speak, and they had a Fortune 500 woman that owns a business speak, and those kids, like, I sat with them. Some of them at lunch, and they were like, I never would have thought that I could do this and I could be that, and it was so amazing. And I'm like, we need to do more of that.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
And to show those people that, like, you too can have this role.
Absolutely.
It's not too far from you, because you're right. Most children probably who are who look up to minority women or men probably only see the TV stars, right? That sounds like, oh, no, I'm never going to look at that.
Right.
So I think we also have to probably be loud and proud about it and not be so, like, ashamed to talk about our being a minority-owned business.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you feel like, so basically, when, as someone who's trying to, like, make a difference and, like, speak up and stuff like that for not only your business but minority-owned businesses, what are some of the things that you have experienced that has caused you, besides the, you know, the space rental? Do you feel like there's other things that have caused you to kind of want to be quieter? Probably not, because you're my girl's loud.
I don't think you can call me quiet.
No, not at all.
No,
but that's why,
you know. But it is interesting. I've been in places where I don't feel like I fit in, or I feel uncomfortable, and I walk in and I become mousy. I become and I do check myself. I'm like, why are you quiet? Why are you not talking to people? Why are you not mingling or whatever? But I think is that if I don't see myself represented in the room, or I feel like I'm going to be the only person that's going to speak up or represent us, I do become mousy for whatever reason. And it's funny because I do watch myself. Like if I go, to the Achievers group, I have no problem talking. I go to the Hispanic Chamber, I don't have no problem talking. Yeah. But I think I went to, I don't know if it was Pinellas leadership or Tampa leadership or whatever. Yeah. And I really didn't see myself represented there. And I was like, I really didn't talk to a lot of people. I wasn't myself. Like I wasn't the bubbly, let me talk to everybody kind of thing. Yeah. I think there are times when I feel like I don't shine my light as bright as I normally do. Yeah.
Do you find yourself when you do see yourself in the same room as other people who look like you, talk like you, do you feel like you gravitate towards them more?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is, well, actually, I don't say me too, because I think that like sometimes it ebbs and flows. But I feel like why do we do that? Is it because we want to feel included? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Like, that's a good question. I mean, like even in your events, I mean, I gravitate to the people I know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have a lot of representation in your events, but somehow I gravitate towards the people that I know. Yeah,
which makes sense. It's comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. I will say, one of the things I do want us to do better at too, we have a diverse org, but I think also having more Hispanic, we have a lot of, our board, we have a few Hispanic women, but I think just having more Hispanic people at the table. One of the things that we're trying to do is do a, how we do the financial wellness courses. Right. We want to have them in Spanish to like also be super exclusive, and just help people kind of feel like they have a space there and they're comfortable.
Yeah, no, and it's funny, I was talking to somebody from the Hispanic Outreach Center, and we were talking about the board because the CEO is leaving, and she said, our board doesn't have a lot of, there's a lot of males, there's a lot of financial people, and I think a lot of boards do that because you need the people with the money knowledge, but I'm like, well, they should all be Hispanics. This is the Hispanic Outreach Center.
Absolutely. Especially like you can't, this is like one of my biggest pet peeves in leadership is like, I cannot make a decision for people in this group if I don't know about this group. Exactly. You cannot make a decision about Black and brown people in a room full of white women or men. Right. Like no disrespect, but you cannot do that. You can't relate. How can you make a decision about that? Right. You need voices in the room to be able to make sound decisions that are going to be impactful. And maybe you like experienced it here and there. You have a diverse friend group, but unless you live that life, you can't do that.
And even how do you reach that population? Like you see white people making those decisions. Oh, we're gonna do a marketing campaign to get more Hispanics. Well, are you going to the community centers? Absolutely. Are you going to the housing projects? Are you where are you going to reach these people?
Yeah. And when you go to these people, reading the room, right? Like these people sometimes are people who never have seen a person like you a day in their life. Driving up there in certain type of cars or a suit and tie when they're struggling to make ends meet ain't probably the best option. So probably I feel like just having accurate representation, maybe bringing someone that maybe can communicate. There's so many more steps than just being like, I need to have a diverse organization. It's, you had to also have people who represent it and who make people feel comfortable. Yeah. And like you said, going to the area, right? Maybe that's, housing departments or projects and not feeling intimidated and being comfortable and making those people feel like they can trust you. Right. Because it really comes down to trust. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different conversation for a whole different day. All right, my last question for you, my love, is how do you stay, like, during all this stuff and during all this, going through back and forth of being a leader in minority, I know you stay focused and motivated. What do you do for your own mental health during this, besides having a great community?
I'm a beach bum. I need the ocean. So I'm blessed that we were able to buy a retirement condo right during COVID. So that's my thing. I come home, take my clothes off, and change. Like that's actually, it's funny. It's been one of my things, like how I sort of disconnect from work is I need to go home and change. Like I always, that's my first thing. Yeah. Take off my work clothes.
Yeah, me too.
and then I sit in my balcony and I hear the ocean. Like that's important to me. On the weekends I go to the beach. Even if I don't, if it's cold, I go for a walk. Like I need the ocean. Totally is my escape. And as long as I hear the ocean and now my baby, like watching the baby and hugging the baby is totally helping my mental health.
Tell us his name.
Mateo.
He's born on my birthday, guys. He's going to be a very
he's gonna
special
be good.
human.
Yeah.
He may be a little wild and crazy, but
we will love him. Yeah. So, I mean, and my husband is super supportive. So, we take vacations. We talked about that. Like, you need to disconnect. Yeah. And sometimes, like I've gone to vacations here in Florida and I'm still checking the phone and checking the email and checking it. So it is like we made a point that if we go outside of the country, well, we broke that rule in Puerto Rico because we had access to everything.
Puerto Rico, though.
Right. It's Puerto Rico. Yeah. But like we tried, if we go on a real vacation, try to disconnect and not check the emails and not, because that's important. I think it is. Being connected 24/7, you're doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah. Like when we went to Morocco, it was the first time I have ever not worked. Right. And we've traveled quite a bit. It's the first time. Wow. And you know what I did? One of the things I learned, my pastor told me this, before I left, I said, team, I am completely off the grid. Don't contact me. And that's hard. That was hard for me. Right. And then I purposely did not have my phone. And the second thing was we were 12 hours ahead. So even if I wanted to check, if there was a problem, I can't fix it because they're asleep. So that was so hard though. But I do say that that's important. And then also being around people that you can communicate with and that understand. You don't have to like I love these talks because I know that you understand what I'm saying, and I don't have to be like, I'm not hurting your feelings because I know that what I feel. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Your community is important. Like having your own communities. Absolutely.
And like your community, because I feel like too, like having people that you don't have to be like, oh, like, I hope I didn't offend you, or like, please don't take this wrong way. I'm sorry. Like, no, you don't need that. We're already stressed out as it is.
Exactly. Yep.
I would say come unoffended.
Right. Absolutely.
I may accidentally offend you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so great talking to you today.
Same
Thank you for joining Here to Shake the Table. Tell the viewers, the listeners, where they can find you at.
You can find me at cleopathhealthllc.com, at Cleopath Health on Instagram, at Cleopath Health LLC, and Facebook. Everywhere, we're Cleopath Health LLC, everywhere.
Perfect. You guys can also find one of her amazing therapists at Empowerment Community Center. We have a center in Palm Harbor and Clearwater where one of the incredible therapists is at, and she has been doing a great job. So if for some reason you are in need of therapy, if you are a woman who is struggling or just wants to kind of find community, please visit either one of us and let's build this together.
Absolutely.
You have a seat at our table.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Thank you for having me.